Hey everybody, it is 9:30 on a Wednesday. I am so glad you're here. We made it for another week. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2 of Persephone in a subway tunnel. So basically I'm doing my Persephone series. So I'm very excited about that. And off camera, I went ahead and mapped in her hair, mapped in her dress, and worked on the background. And you can see I painted the background unlike the first one, the first Persephone in the subway. I did that mostly with paintbrush, and I will be doing paintbrush here too, but I felt like having that bouquet, that kind of shadow, softness in the background, and her being sharp, the background, the airbrush was just so perfect for it. So I was very excited about that, and so I wanted to share that with you. So it is Wednesday, the 15th of November. This month is going by so fast. Rick, how are you? Great to see you, my friend. All the way from Canada. How's it going? Great to see you, sir. And I know you guys up in Canada, you had your Remembrance Day. It coincided with our Veterans Day. Did you have a good day off, sir? I hope so. So only with her flesh, you know, her face and her neck, I actually went in with the Lifeline illustration colors by Createx, and I was able to get a really nice basis. Mr. Michael McClung, how are you, sir? Great to see you. All the way from the Baltimore area. I'm so glad you're here, sir. So that is so cool. So we have Canada and we have Maryland in the house, which is really great. So with the airbrush, I kept everything very soft edged, and I was able to really get the background to be out of focus, and in turn brings her in focus. And that's my whole goal, is to bring her in focus. Colette, how are you? All the way from Wisconsin. I'm so glad you're here. How's everything, Colette? It's great to see you. Colette just finished doing an amazing pastel nude. It was really beautiful last week, so congrats on that. So that's really, you know, that's really, I love to see you guys do great work. And I see Michael McClung is working on a car, really beautiful. So some really nice stuff going on. So I'm so glad to see that, you know. One of these days you guys are going to have a live stream, right? And oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So Colette said that the painting's lovely. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring out her face a little more, right? So how we're going to do that is probably come in with our darker values. When we come in our darker values, our midtones will lighten up, so we'll have to darken them, and then our lights will darken up, and so it goes. Mr. Brad Mummery, all the way from Neepawa, Manitoba, Canada. So great to see you. How is everything, sir? So glad you're here. And Brad is doing an amazing portrait of Amy Lee from Evanescence, looking really good, getting in those flesh tones, so very happy about that. So I want to always keep the start of the show ahead of everything else, right? So how you keep it the focus is you keep it one step ahead of everything. That's how you keep it the focus when you're painting. Some people say, well, how do I make sure that I'm leading the eye? You give more attention to an area, and that will bring more attention from your viewer. So that's good to know. So right now I am going to look for covering everything but her beautiful face. So let's see. And, you know, I am actually neglecting to go in with the eyes, nose, and mouth and darkening that just yet, because I want to model the forms of her head, the larger forms, the nose, the cheek, the chin, you know, the forehead. I want to model that first, and then we can go. And Michael says, I was working on the GTO before. Oh, so cool. Very cool. That is great. Yeah, I'm loving the way that's coming out. Definitely. So I'm going to put this on her. I'm going to get my glasses because it's definitely glasses territory here. So we want to make sure. So, and I talked to our friends over at Createx, and they said that you definitely could use illustration colors as an underpainting for Wicked, and I thought that was really cool. So we're just going to make sure we get this correct. So what's most important is her chin, her mandible. Okay. And so that's really neat, and love to see you guys working, hear about your work, see it. I'm going to use the little boys' room. I'll be right back, guys, and then we'll get going. Okay, I am back. Thank you so much for your patience. And now we are going to go into this, and let's see. Okay, so I just want to, I'm going to be a little bit on the paranoid side. I want to make sure that I have her mentalis correct. What I'll do, because I'm a little nervous about it, I'll just work on that area separate and just make sure that this part is correct. That sounds like a good deal. Little millimeter here, millimeter there, and then you have a different person. So that's really important to be a little bit paranoid with this. So once again, if you have the light, with your main light coming from the left, you want to do low profile magnets because it's not going to cast a shadow. And so that will keep that in mind, right? That's going to be important to keep in mind. Because, and then if you have a shadow, if the light's coming from the left, you put it here, the shadow's not going on the part of the artwork which you're working on. So that's always important. Hey, Roy, all the way from New Jersey. How's it going? Roy's working on a really great Black Panther with the candy. So that is really wild. So that is a lot of fun. So really enjoying working with Roy on that. And let's see. Oh, yes, Michael McClung purchased the, and this is the very one, Michael, right here. It is the Extreme Patriot Arrow. It is all put together. I did have 2 hours of testing last night and another 2 hours tomorrow, and it should go out. I need to know that it will work under all conditions before I send it out. So where you don't get that kind of like 12-point service. Because if there's something wrong and you get it, you might not know what it is, but it wouldn't be as good if you didn't have someone like me to really go over everything. See, if you don't see the problem and you don't have a problem, then you're just having fun with the airbrush. And that's so important to me. Okay, so I'm going to get my reference. Let's see. Okay, so now what are we going to do? So I want to go ahead and get a little bit richer darks here and right over here and then in here. So I am going to use sepia. I think sepia is going to be really great. So let's get some cups and make this happen. Do you guys go through these cups like I do? I think I got to buy stock in the company. So I go through these like crazy. It's unbelievable. All right, so we're going to do sepia with a little bit of red iron oxide. I think that would be really good. So we're going to move this chair away, bring in the paints, send in the paints. Okay. Have my table with all of my wicked paints on it. So what we're looking for is sepia, not illustration sepia, but we are looking for wicked sepia, detail sepia. Let's see. Probably over, yep, because I was using it last night. So detail sepia. Brad says he's glad he had Tim get all of the bugs out of the airbrushes. Oh, wow, thanks. So Brad says he's glad that I got all the bugs out of the airbrushes. And so that's really cool. So thank you for that. And yes, so Brad says it's better than doing the troubleshooting yourself or not knowing the problem, hearing a weird noise. I've been using this airbrush every day since 2018. So I'm like a extreme Patriot arrow whisperer. So if I hear something just a little bit different, a lot of people won't know what it is. I'll actually know what's wrong with it just by the sound of it. And that is cool. So, and that could, it won't ruin your experience, but it won't make it as good as it could be, you know? What good is having a Ferrari if you can't go that fast? And so we're going to put in some of our sepia, right? And then we're going to put in some of our detail red iron oxide. I do like red iron oxide. It's a great color. See, it's very rich. And this is by Wicked Red Oxide. Now, is there a red iron oxide? I don't think so. So red oxide, which is basically red iron oxide, especially rust, you know. So I'm going to put, you know, maybe 25% of the sepia. So 75% sepia, 25% of the red iron oxide. And of course, you know what's coming. We're going to 4011 it. So let's make that happen. And I like to 4011 it 1:1. Okay, so we have that 1:1, and then I'm going to put a couple of drops, maybe 10% of the UVLS Clear 4050 gloss. And what that does, it allows the paint to actually spray smoother. It thickens it up a little bit, yes, but it actually is much smoother going through your nozzle. And using a small nozzle, this is really great news. So I'm just going to shake this up. And you want to really mix it well, right? You know, maybe like, I don't know, for at least a minute of just mixing. You really want that to mix really well. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm really liking it. I think it's very close to what I want. And it may look darker here. Remember, transparents look darker when they're concentrated. But when you spray this onto your painting, it's going to be much lighter because it's a transparent. And transparents work really well with a lighter color underneath. So you're going to have this lighter color. It's going to really work really nicely. Oh, okay. Mike says he's not going to be able to work with it until December 9th. But we'll get that out to you, and I'm going to give you some gifts with that. So anyone buys my airbrush, they get some really, really cool gifts that I know you're going to love. It's just my thank you for trusting me to customize an airbrush for you. And I know how important it is. Okay, so right now we're going to be using this one, the Vega 1000. I do that every now and then. Just break that out. Okay, here we go. Alright, so we have the Vega 1000 in here. I have the sepia mix with the red iron oxide by Wicked, both Wicked detail colors. And let's get ready to rumble here. That's exactly the color I'm looking for. You want to know what? Sometimes you need these, sometimes you don't. And this time I don't. I'm going to take this stencil off. And we're just going to, you kind of want a little bit of overspray when you're doing these transition tones and mid-tones from the darks. And so we're kind of going with the flow here. We'll move this aside. Okay. Mr. Dwayne, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you, San Luis de Obispo. Go Mustangs. How are you, sir? How's the painting coming along? So right now I'm just going to hit the dark right underneath her hair, right? And then we're going to soften that edge. That's a soft edge. But we're going to soften that later, you know? The pros of a stencil and the cons. The pros, you get a hard edge. The cons, you get a hard edge. Meaning sometimes you don't want a hard edge, so you're going to have to work on that. So right now we're just going to create some three-dimensional quality. The hair is a three-dimensional form that is casting a shadow onto her forehead, right? So that's the color. See that? It looks really dark, but look what happens when we spray. Since it's a transparent... Hey, Ryan Barkley, how are you, sir? Great to see you today. I'm so glad you're here. How's life in the Detroit area? And we're just going to... So we're thinking about what we're going to do in the future, you know? And... thanks, Dwayne. I'm holding my own, you know? One day at a time. That's how I handle it. But just working hard, doing what I can, and let God take care of the rest. And so you see how I'm kind of bringing that transition tone and moving it all the way down here, right by her eyebrow. And then the cast shadow kind of stops right there. And let's see the scalp in the part of her hair. That's more like a darker gray. I'm going to bring in the darks here, but this kind of golden color, golden brown, is not there. So try not to put things that are not there, you know? So, and we're just going to continue. And once again, those of you who just joined us, I have the Detail Sepia, 75%, and the Wicked Red Oxide regular. And so 75% of the Detail Sepia, 25% of the Red Iron Oxide, 1-to-1 with the 4011, 10% of the 4050, and here I am. Mix that really well. And so, like last week, remember, we started with the Lifeline illustration colors by Createx as our underpainting, and now we're going over this with our Wicked colors. I'm bringing in this side plane here. And right here in our eye socket. being very gentle with this shadow, cast shadow of the nose, right? Very gentle with that. Now here it's a little bit of a grayish color, more of your sepia or raw umber under here. So I'm just going to chill out with that for a little bit. Let's see, right here, we're going to move this over. Very cool, very cool. So I have some black tea with lemon. That is so good. Highly recommended on a chilly November evening. Okay, so I have that. Now here it's a little bit darker. I'm always assessing the situation, right? Always seeing where I could make improvements or what have you. Here I can come in with this red iron oxide sepia color, but it's more of a raw umber color, so I'm going to hold off, right? I'm going to hold off. And same thing here. I really like the way this is looking right now, this cast shadow of the hair, right? I'm really liking the way that's looking. But I still need to come in with more of a ruddy greenish gray, right? So that's what I'm seeing. So I don't want to prematurely put things in that aren't there. But what I'm going to do now is I want to separate her chin from her neck, right? Her chin's coming forward and her neck's going back. So I'm going to look for that stencil just to cover that up. And let's see. That should be in here. I think I see it already, which is nice. Okay. And then we're going to put this here. There we go. Get that as perfect as we can get it. Now what I like to do as well is when I have like something open, like her lips there, I'm going to cover it because the best defense is not to be there. So we're just going to cover this like so. And put a low profile one right there. Okay, so now I can come in and darken this. So I'm going to start with this kind of red iron oxide color, and then we'll move down here. Okay, whoop, that kind of law of attraction there. There you go. Bring this down. But the most important thing here is I'm gaining this kind of chin coming forward and everything else pulling back. And let's see. Now I don't want to contaminate her dress, right? So there's something we can do about that because I want to paint the shadow of her clavicle. So you have to keep that clean. And that dress is actually a lace, right? So that leaves kind of a problem because even if you do have a freehand shield, you're going to have a hard time getting that on there. So I'm going to look for what I had cut out. Let's see if I can find it. Wow, look at that. I think I have it, guys. Yes. Okay. We'll just put this aside. Okay. So this is, I'm going to put here, and that is the contour of her dress here. And this way I'm not contaminating it. Okay. Put that right here. Remember, the light is coming from the left, so I could put high profile magnets because it won't be going onto the artwork. It won't cast a shadow onto the artwork. Mike says, you talked to me into the Suzanne Summers portrait I will be starting after. Oh, I can't wait to see that. Wow, yeah, that's going to be a great portrait. And I'd love to see the the progress pics on that. Oh, she was such a beautiful lady. So stunning. She was in her 30s when Three's Company came out, I heard. Is that correct? Okay, so now we're going to spray the undershadow of her clavicle. You want to be super subtle with this because otherwise it won't look natural. There we go. Just super, super subtle. So I'm going to establish this with this red iron oxide sepia mix, and then I'm going to come in with the raw umber and a little bit of sepia. I think that will work, you know. So my PSI is at 25. I like being as far away from the subject as possible, far away, because the further I'm away, I may lose a little bit of detail, but I'm going to get much smoother application. We don't want blotchiness, right? So it's just something that's going to keep us from having that. Now again, you want perpendicular and not parallel from the face shield because you don't want a line, right? So if you go perpendicular parallel, you're going to have an even, beautiful gradation, right? So that's really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load airbrush number 2 right over here. And we're going to put in our raw umber. And I love Wicked because Wicked has these artistic classical colors. Raw umber, yellow ochre, just phthalo blue. I mean, it's amazing. And how could you not get excited about that as an oil painter going into this, right? It's just out of this world. So now, with all these beautiful colors, I have the fun job of trying to find my raw umber, and here it is. And this is Wicked Raw Umber. Write this down, guys. It is Detail Raw Umber 0068. Incredible color. Once you start using it, you will be using it all the time, especially if you're doing portraits. Hey, what's up, Travis? Great to see you. And Travis says, why can't you trust an artist because they're sketchy? They're shady and they'll frame you. Wow, that's pretty good. That's a great joke. How you doing, my friend? Great to see you, Travis, all the way from the Minnesota, Minneapolis area. I'm so glad you're here. So we want it dark, but the thing is, when you're working with transparents, it looks dark, but when you spray it, it's transparent. So it's interesting. You dilute it and you get a lighter version of it, just like my India inks, right? You know, the detail mixture is diluted a lot more than the light mixture and then the medium. So it more has to do with dilution than anything else because it's transparent. So in its most like solid state, you know, it is 100% pure. It's almost black at times, but when you dilute it, you get the full light to dark dynamic range, which is just amazing. Okay, so we have this just a little bit on the bottom, and then remember we were going to go with our detail sepia because we want to have that kind of smoky, rustic kind of color, and we're going to put that right over the beautiful red iron oxide and sepia we did earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 50-25, so 1 to 2. So 2 parts of the raw umber to 1 part of the sepia, and then we're going to 40-11 this 1 to 1, and then about 10% of the Createx UVLS clear 40-50 gloss. Shake that up, And just really, really enjoying this process, guys. I mean, I really am loving Createx. It has opened up my creativity as far as color. And the fact that, you know, there's a lot of chemistry involved in this, kind of attacks or kind of, you know, endears me to my scientific side, right? So, and it has all the classical colors, and the classical colors like, you know, raw umber, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, cobalt blue. I mean, it's really cool. Okay, so we're going with airbrush number 2, and I'm just going to put a little bit in here. And I think it's light enough, so I'm pretty sure. So we're just going to go in and test this. So look at the 2 colors of the day so far. They're so close to each other, right? So we have this one. Let me see if I could bring it up a little bit closer just to show you guys. Make it lighter. So these are our 2 colors right now. This one is more on the the red iron oxide with some sepia, and this is sepia with the raw umber, right? So we're working very close to one another, but still it's, hey JC, how's it going? Great to see you. I'm so glad you're here, my friend, all the way from the Atlanta area. Michael says it's like a fun game mixing up your own paint. It really is, you know, it really is enjoyable. It's like being a mad scientist, right? It really is. Beautiful. So I'm really happy with this, right? So we're going to continue since we have the face shield. And what we're going to do is now, oh, let me get out of here. Actually, I can probably move this over here so you all can see. So I want to get that kind of rustic look, right? So you see how now all of a sudden it's getting that rustic kind of, and I'm about 4 inches away. And just kind of getting rid of the high saturation of the red iron oxide underneath. And now we can move out here. Now we can see that that skin tone is really much darker, and we'll address that soon. And if the magnets get in the way, just move them out of the way. And this is going to be deeper shadows, but the thing is, we're not looking to get those values where they are supposed to be. We're just slowly building things up and making her more and more like she is, but we're taking our time with that. So I'm going to remove this, and we're going to add some of this raw umber color to kind of desaturate those shadows. Although we do love beautiful color, there's a place and time for it, right? So that's important. Hey, Chris Garcia, how are you all the way from New York? How's everything, my friend? I'm so glad to see you. How's work going? And I know Coquito time is coming, huh, sir? And pasteles. So I'm looking forward to pasteles, hopefully. And so again, I'm coming in with this kind of greenish gray color here. Especially here in the eye socket, right there. And right here on the inside of this shadow plane, of her hair. And we have to soften that eventually, right? Oh, you're working all the holidays. Oh man, that stinks. Getting a lot of overtime and bonuses and time off because of that, sir? Are there advantages to it? When I worked at Amazon, there were good advantages of working the holidays. I'm going to take this opportunity to darken her eyebrows with this raw umber and sepia mix. Yes, that's true. So JC says that yes, you get bonuses, so everyone else's bank account's shrinking, yours is growing. That's a good point, JC. Okay. See how I darkened this over here? And the part is really small, so but there is no warm color. So I didn't put a warm color where there was none. And now I'm going to take this kind of coolish color and put that there. Cool down the hair a little bit because it is kind of hot in color. And this will kind of cool it down. And that's what we want to do. So we're not only working on color and edges, but we're also working on warm and cool. So those are all things that you don't solve it right away. It's too complex to solve it right away. You have to solve it little at a time. Hey Mike, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate that. That is amazing. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for buying the airbrush. And it's an honor to make it for you. And I'm just really excited and looking forward to all the great artwork you're going to do with it. So thank you again for supporting the channel and giving me the encouragement. It really means a lot to me, sir. So thank you, Michael. And thank you for your friendship. So that is great. And we're just going to continue with this sepia mix, right? And again, it's still a little warm, right? So we're going to have to cool it down, but Rome wasn't built in a day. So what I'm going to do also, remember, so you have this right here. This is your mentalis, right? Which is on the center part of the mandible. And there's a muscle that goes over this. And there's fat compartment that's over here, and it comes out right like that. It's about a golf-sized ball. But there's a rubber band type of muscle that goes all the way around the mouth, and it's called the orbicularis oris. Orbicularis means go around, oris means mouth, and it goes around. And as it goes around, it pushes in right under the lip. And so there's like a straight line almost, and that's what we're looking at right now. So I'm not just painting that, I'm looking for it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm looking for the effect of the orbicularis oris as it kind of breaks through the mentalis fat compartment. And if you look in the mirror, you'll see there's a straight line right here. And then your mentalis fat compartments come out. And it also gives us our profile. Because if we didn't have that, our profile would look crazy. So the anatomy is really important because these little things, you look for it. So have you ever was shopping for cars and you really like this one car? It's like a Buick. And all of a sudden you're seeing that Buick all over the place because you're looking for it. Same thing with anatomical knowledge is that I know where it is, I'm looking for it, I'll find it a lot quicker than just the powers of observation. Our powers of observation as humans are limited because our big brain gets in the way. So that's why we need the knowledge. We need to see what's there, but that's not enough. We need the knowledge of what we're painting. We need the knowledge of the makeup and the mechanism and the building blocks of it. There's just no substitution for that. So I'm not saying become a medical student, but you know, get yourself a good anatomy book and look at some of the anatomy lessons that that are on YouTube that are really great. They really help. And let's see here. And so I'm just very slowly bringing this together. And so, oh, Mike says he enjoys watching you work with Createx and seeing how you do portraits so good. Oh, thank you, Mike. So Mike says I learned, he learns from me, and that means a lot to me. And that's what I really want to do. I want to inspire you guys and girls out there to really, you know, see that if I can do it, you definitely can do it, right? And that's how I look at it. You know, it's just whatever we practice, we get good at. Now, since I have this color, I want to work on right over here, which is the space between the zygomatic bone and the jawbone. And there's a space between it, sort of like a gap, and that's what causes the shadow of the jawbone. But it really isn't anything, it's just a shadow. So it's not an anatomical feature, it's just the in-between of those anatomical features. Okay. So there's something called the glabella, and the glabella is, here's your forehead, and your forehead doesn't go straight into the nose, right? If it did, we'd look like parrots, right? So you have your forehead, then there's an indentation, and then your nasal bone comes out of there, your two nasal bones. So what we have to do is paint that indentation, but we have to be very gentle. So I'm going to be about 5 inches away, and I'm just going to be so painful in my application of that. I mean, so light. I can always go darker. So I just want to make sure that I just indicate that. And Chris says he's been inducted into the Brush Fest group, and we all travel all over the United States airbrushing and print. Oh, wow, that's great. So it's like, so you travel around and do paintings for charity? That's wonderful. That's really great. I'm really enjoying, Mike, the Createx, the whole line. You know, I'm enjoying the Wicked line, the illustration line. I've been playing with the candies. It's just a lot of fun. And you know, one of the reasons why I'm sticking with Createx is because they're the one paint company that is really geared for airbrush artists, right? You have companies like, you know, Golden and other companies like that, but they do other things as well. So my thing is, if Golden is really gearing themselves for airbrush artists, I think that it's a good company to stand behind and try and make them successful. So you know, we got to treat them well, and I know they're treating us well. So I'm just coming in with this shadow color here. I mean, just erasing this shadow plane here. Same thing here, erasing away. Okay, now what I want to do is, now I'm going to have to deepen some of these mid-tones. So we deepened this flesh tone right here. So we're going to deepen the mid-tones, right? And Createx is one of the paint sponsors for Brush Fest. That is fantastic, and I'm not surprised. And Ryan, hey Ryan, how's it going? Good to see you. So how many portraits? Oh, so Ryan, I think you just came by, so I'm so glad to see you. And Ryan says, how many portraits will there be in the Subway series? I don't know. I'm going to do it until I get bored, you know. But I really see a lot of them in the works, you know. And with Persephone, you know, the goddess Persephone. So I see doing a lot of paintings of Persephone in the future, and also, you know, maybe in some of the darkest underbelly areas of the city. Uh, One of the things about Persephone is that she's invincible, so she would feel safe in the subways at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? She's very powerful. She has a power to make things grow and to make kill vegetation just looking at it. And she has all kinds of like superhuman strength and everything like that. So here is this like beautiful woman Persephone just kind of walking in these scary areas, and you know, you would be like, oh my god, she's in the subway at 3 o'clock in the morning, but she has nothing to fear from anything. And JC said, never use Golden, Tim, but Dredd told me they changed their paint, so he is also sticking with Createx. They don't flow as good as they used to. Yes, so true. So back in the day, Golden used to have airbrush colors, and they were great. And what they did, which was not too cool, is they got rid of the airbrush colors and made them high flow, and so they could make them geared for, you know, every artist, not just for airbrush artists. So that means to tell me that they're not vested into the airbrush artists, and you know, they're not listening to us as much. So the high flow, although it's a wonderful product, I don't think it's geared for us as airbrush artists, right? So that's why I think Golden is great, but they fall second compared to Createx. So that's why I really am going with Createx right now. And they listen to us, right? So great point, JC. That is so true. And Dredd is great. He has some great stuff. So it's great to see you, Mr. Ryan. I did and so we have Ryan Barkley. So that's the funny thing. We have Ryan Barkley here and Ryan Jobaggy, and you both have a green R. So that's why I didn't recognize you at first, sir. That was really good tea. So now what I think I want to do is I want to come in with a stronger flesh color. And let's go ahead and mix that. And as you can see, I'm taking my time, but we want to get a little bit more forceful in our midtones. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this color out here. Let's see, where's my gallon of milk? Oh, okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put some water through this airbrush. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. And so we're set. Make sure that you wipe your cap really well, because some of that paint could get into and contaminate your colors really badly. So now we're looking at this, and I really want to start coming in with a little bit of a fleshy color. So I am going to go ahead and start with the Wicked White, right? Take care, Chris. Always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by, my friend. Don't work too hard. So we're going to go ahead and put a good amount of this here, because we want to go opaque. And then we're going to take your favorite flesh tone in mind, the 0073 Detail Flesh Tone. Let's focus that in. See that? Detail Flesh Tone. So that's what we really want to use right now. It's such a great universal flesh tone. I mean, I don't paint it and say, okay, I have my flesh tone, but it's a good base, right? Wow, Mike, thank you so much, my friend. Oh man, so you got a flight to Iowa in the morning. Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate you, my friend, always. Thank you so much for your support and your friendship. It really helps the channel and it's such a boost and really encourages me. And I really love the work you're doing on Instagram. The latest portrait you did with the music, that it was really, really nice. Really beautiful work, my friend. Are you going to Iowa for business or pleasure? So I'm going to put some of this flesh tone here with that. Probably 1:1. Right? And then I'm going to go ahead and 4011 it. Got a 4011 it. And then I am going to put the 10% of the Createx 5050 UV-LS Clear, just to make that flow really nice. Now, one of the keys is mixing it up for at least like 45 seconds, right? I made a lot of paint. Sometimes you make too much paint. That's what I did just now. And Dwayne says, I never heard of a fan of Golden High Flow. Was given a bunch of them. Oh, never been a fan. They're really good as far as like archival quality and doing fine art illustration. I mean, they're really fantastic. But they don't have the airbrush artist in we're not a priority. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, so they work differently. I have been working for many years with the Golden, but yeah, they do make you they make you work hard for that. And once again, Mike, thank you so much for that super chat and very generous. I appreciate your friendship, and I'm going to get out those Airbrush India inks to you very shortly. I will be making them this weekend, a fresh batch. So I have quite a number of people who ordered those inks, so I'll get that out to you ASAP, Mr. Rushing. So thank you, sir. All right, so now we have a beautiful flesh tone, right? It's so beautiful because it's hers. So there it is. See that? Nice, beautiful flesh tone. And again, I learned my lesson last night. I had 3 painting sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one at night. And from the afternoon to the night, I thought I cleaned it well, but I didn't. And there was some blue. And I was mixing a light flesh color, and I was wondering why I was getting blue shift, but there was some blue still in that airbrush. So when you go from one painting session to another, please give it a really good cleaning. You'll thank me. It's so important. It really, really is. Okay, so we need the top. The top is crucial. If you were the top, where would you be? Oh boy. You know, something simple like the top I can't find. Let's see. And I won't paint without the top. So that's, oh, here it is, right over there. And JC, at least they got some use, Dwayne. Oh, cool. So you gave them to friends, little kids, for finger paints. Those are expensive figure paints. But, you know, there's still a great use for the high flow and everything. It's a good brand, but I definitely on board with Createx. Definitely for 2024. Okay, here goes. We have a nice flesh color here. We're just going to deepen this flesh color. And we may go a little darker, but we'll start on the light side. But we want to make sure that we don't go over the anatomy, right? The supraorbital eminences, the orbital eminences up here. So we want to make sure we don't undo the work that we did. So looking at this, this is a little bit on the light side. So I am going to dump this out and we're going to Oh, Sans, thank you so much, Sans. I appreciate you for the super chat. Thank you. And just really appreciate your encouragement and all of your generosity. It really helps the channel. It keeps me encouraged. And it's like a good shot in the arm, you know? It really gets me going and knowing I'm doing the right thing and that, you know, I'm helping people. So Sans, much appreciated. Thank you so much. Now I have to darken this color. So there's a lot of paint in here. So I don't want to darken all of that. So I can actually keep this, and what I'm going to do is just take some out here. And then I want to darken it. So how can we darken this flesh color, right? That's the question. So I'm thinking, why don't we just add a little bit of raw umber, right? So a little bit of raw umber. I know that sounds crazy, but that's okay. I'm going to put one drop of raw umber, and that's going to kind of push that back a little bit. And so that is great. You guys are really wonderful with the super chats and encouraging me. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, guys and girls, and for hanging out on this Wednesday night. So many cool things you could be doing, but you decide to hang out with me. So you see how it's a little bit darker? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a paper towel because I don't want to make a mess. I'm going to keep putting more of the raw umber in until it neutralizes that skin tone, and puts it. Now, why wouldn't I put detail smoke? Because the raw umber, it neutralizes it as well as darkening it, which I like. I put 2 more drops in. What it's doing is kind of giving it sort of a deep kind of makeup kind of look. Now I want it a little bit more saturation, right? But let's hold off on that and let's put 1 more drop because we can always go lighter. I know we're kind of not doing the transparent thing, so this is where things start getting opaque. Okay, now that's a nice, see that? That's a nice dark flesh color. And so, you know, when I paint, it's more of an intuitive thing. I've been painting since I was a little one, 14, and so I kind of go on that kind of memory bank thing here. Okay, let's see what we have, partners. All right, so here goes nothing. Make sure I got a good flow. Nice. It's a little bit darker, a little bit better. And Sand says, Timothy, do you have a simplified process of transferring lines to your painting surface, i.e. Photoshop, etc.? I use Krita, and that's a really great way to do it. So if you ever get a chance, you could just email me at paintedglyphs@gmail.com, Sands, and I'll be able to talk to that with you. Some of the different ways that I transfer. So that's a great question. And Michael McClung says 5,000 cups. He says, I'm glad I got like 5,000 of those. Yes, exactly. That's exactly how many you need. So it's a nice deeper flesh color here. And I'm even going to get a little bit darker, but it's sort of like, think of putting on foundation, right? She's putting on foundation, so you're kind of going in that direction. And we're going to kind of move with this color throughout. And it's nice because we're deepening the values, you know? And perfect. All right, looking forward to your email, fans. Now, what size you usually like working? Because that will change how uh, I would transfer the artwork on there. So it really has to do with your method of, what size you'll be using. If you're working much bigger, like 24 by 36, it's going to be a whole different approach for me. So what we're doing is we're making her skin tones a lot more opaque right now, getting rid of the transparent qualities. And then we're going to blue shift on purpose pretty soon. And a lot of times we'll lose some detail and bring it back. Yes, and the type of surface, so true there, Brad. Brad knows. I'm going to blue shift over the darks that we just did on purpose so that we can come over that again. And what that does is as we're blue shifting everything on purpose, not so much, but the colors, the values are next to each other. So they are creating a type of shift, but not a typical blue shift. Kind of creating a fog, right? So you want that fog. And with that fog, then, so that's the scary part of the painting, right? That's like the takeoff and landing of flying a plane, right? Those are the time periods where things could really go awry, is at the point where you are starting to make things cloudy by doing a light color over a dark color. So very interesting. Ah, the inner sanctum. That's true. That is so true there, Mr. Brad. So now that I have this color, I'm going to do something a little more avant-garde. Is I'm going to do the same thing with her hair. So right now you see I'm going to smoke the hair, kind of make it cloudy. And it's very airtight. Wow, what a great super chat, my friend. That is so amazing. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate you. $20 super chat. Thank you. It really helps the channel. It pays bills and encourages me. And just as I always say, it makes me realize that I'm at least doing something. I'm going in the right direction. The channel is growing for a reason, right? So I'm feeling that. And I'm feeling that, we're getting more subscribers and new faces. And we're going deeper into Createx. And I think I'm enjoying it. And I think you guys are enjoying it. And the super chats really tell me that you're enjoying it. So, Mr. Air Todd, all the way from San Diego, I appreciate you, sir. Appreciate your friendship. So notice that I'm kind of fogging up her hair, because then I'm going to go over it. And what it does as well, when I'm fogging things up, it kind of creates a less of a separation from the lights and the darks and the hair. So, and then I'll go over it again. So I'm going to blow it up and just show you what I'm doing, because it looks like I'm going crazy, but I'm not. See how I'm just sort of, let me lighten this. See how I'm going over that with this flesh color, kind of creating like a fog. So when I go over it with the darks and then the lights, it has a much more unified look. Roy Johnson, Mr. Roy from New Jersey. I did say hello to you before. How are you, sir? Roy's doing a really cool t-shirt of an elephant. Really great. So Roy specializes in t-shirts. He does like the most amazing t-shirts. Just incredible. And once again, thank you so much, Mr. Todd, for the amazing Super Chat sticker. I am so encouraged. And see how I kind of fogged that up? The fog of war, right? You know? So as I'm fogging it up, I'm also applying that skin tone there. So that darker skin tone, and I'm getting a unified skin tone. And now she's less separated. And as I darken it, then I'll come in and reestablish the eyes, nose, and mouth, go darker with that, her eyes, nose, and mouth, and then just, and so it continues. And that's how I develop the portrait. It is layers upon layers. But even into the lips here, see how I fogged up those lips? Why? Because now it's a much more unified image. In the beginning, you know, you have the underpainting and everything like that. So now we're just unifying things. I was painting like this. This was just my instinct when I was starting the airbrush back in the day, just to work opaque, because I'm an oil painter and an airbrush painter. And a pastel painter by trade, studied for many years. So you can see how it's fogging up now, which is really cool. So thank you everybody for the super chat so far. I really, really appreciate you. There we go. So now, with that being said, now I can come in and start darkening and lightening, because now things are more unified. But see how I didn't do the neck? See how there's a different quality? It's more of a sort of a watercolor quality down here. Well, we have to fix that. And so we're going to just fog this up. Okay, so nice and foggy. Now I start coming in with those darks and midtones and everything, and things start looking really cool. So once again, I have this burnt sienna, red iron oxide, right? And let's see what's happening here. I think there's a little bit of tip dry. Okay. Okay, so now we can come back in with this color here. And now we get a much more unified look when we're painting her. And now we can just slowly go darker. So with this color of the sepia, detail sepia, and the iron oxide, we can use that as a transparent now, and we can do a light glaze over the lighter color. Transparents only work on the lighter color underneath, right? So that's why you have to set up a transparent. You can't just use a transparent on its own. You have to set it up. And if you get too dark, you know, you might feel it's a little bit too dark. But you can wait on that. But you can also come back in with that flesh color and calm it down anytime. So once you start kind of fogging your work, you can continue fogging it and go darker, fog it, go darker. So that's a really good way to work. It's very different. I don't see too many artists doing it, but it works for me. And hopefully it'll work for you if you try it. Now I am about 6 inches from the surface because as I'm painting, I want it to be really smooth, right? I don't want it to be any kind of blotchiness. I want to very slowly arrive where I want to be. And I want smooth transitions, right? Like I'm not smooth, I want it to be smooth. So that's exactly it. So that's 6 inches. So now you see I'm starting to get a flesh tone that is a little more rich, but I couldn't just get that flesh tone. I had to kind of set it up. And it's intuitive. I don't know when it's going to happen, or like, oh, you do it this, you just feel it and you just make that shift, and okay, now we're going to have to fog everything up and then go over it, that sort of thing. And looking at, and of course we're going to have some pink shifts, some green shifts here and there, but that's in time. So right here you can see sometimes when I put in that kind of orangey color with the burnt sienna or the red iron oxide, a lot of times it could get too hot, and how you would handle that is by using that lighter flesh color, and you can calm it down. So let me just show you exactly what I mean. Like I said, this is much more of an intuitive kind of thing, but if you see it, you can apply it, do some tests. So right here, see how I kind of calm that down? See how I can calm that down? Calm down the chroma, the shadow under the nose as well. I can just calm that down. And that's exactly, you know, what you want to do. Just keep going back and forth and, you know, increasing saturation, getting rid of saturation, that sort of thing. And let's look up here. I think on her forehead it got a little hot right here. So I'll just come in here and just sort of calm that down. Now the key is to be further away, right? You don't want to, you definitely don't want to oversaturate, and you don't want blotchiness. So basically that's how we're kind of slowly getting there. I'm just going to use the bathroom. I'll be right back, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I'm back. Thanks, guys. So here we are, and we're just slowly darkening things up, and then we can slowly lighten things up as well. So now we're going to start darkening. So I'm going to get the face only shield, and we're going to darken the shadow underneath her neck again. And that brings her face and chin forward. So it's like back and forth, you know. So I'm only really worried about her chin. There we go. Okay, so now I want to come back in with that really beautiful dark color that we were using. So I'm going to, I think I still have it in my airbrush here. Yes. And let me come up here, and maybe some magnets real close to the edge. And Brad says he started a line drawing for another oil project. That's amazing. That's really cool. And got 2 airbrush paintings on the go, one black and white, the other color. That's the way to do it. That's where all the answers are found while working, guys. And now I'm just going to perpendicular and not parallel. I'm going to separate, once again, her chin from her neck. Now if I want it really a little bit lighter at the sternocleidomastoid, I'll just increase my distance. And it might be highly saturated, so we might have to come in with that raw umber. But I definitely just want to separate her chin from the rest of her neck area. So I want that to come forward. And how you do that with hard edges, right? I did see my freehand shield here. And right over here, let me see, we have a nice, beautiful edge here. Let me see if I can hit this. There we go. So that nice, beautiful edge there. And we'll work on it and, you know, continue fixing things. Okay. Now we can lift this and see what we have. And again, I could like really go dark right now, but the thing is you want to get there eventually. You don't want to get there right away. There's so many disadvantages of trying to match color immediately than rather than just paint it slowly like I'm doing here. Okay, so we're going to keep our stencils over here. So really liking what's going on. So with the Wicked, I don't do much of the erasing at this point. It's basically painting. If I want to lighten it, I'll come in with my white and orange mixture and lighten it like that. That's probably the route I'll go. So right now it's basically just working darker. I want to go ahead and assimilate the edge of this hair. So I want this to be really, so I'm going to mix a very, very dark color. So remember in this one, we have my burnt raw umber and sepia mix. So I'm going to dump that out. And so I'm going to go with another cup. It's going to be Detail Smoke, which is super dark, right? And maybe a little bit of that sepia. So we're going to start with, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking the smoke, right? And I'm thinking some Wicked Brown. I don't know why. So I'm just going to coat the bottom with the Detail Smoke. And Ryan says he's working on some small 5x7s for Christmas gifts. Oh, that's fantastic. What's one of the, now is it something like fruit? I find fruit makes great gifts. You know, people love pears and cherries and stuff like that. What are some of the ideas you're doing as far as the gifts? So, Wicked Brown. Have you guys used Wicked Brown before? It's just a lot of fun. I love that color. I just have to find that color. But it's a rich dark. and it has lots of color in it. So I like it a lot. So Detail Burnt Sienna is very much like it, but the Wicked Brown, it's just a little bit less saturated. So we're going to mix some of that. So the Wicked Brown is 0010. It's not detailed, but just regular Wicked Brown. So next week, I think we're going to start coming in with some paintbrush techniques to get in there with her eyes and everything. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. So a lot of things that I think is going to help you with your painting. So next week's going to be great too. So I'm going to mix 2 parts smoke to 1 part Wicked Brown. And it might still be too light. So here we go. And we're going to mix that up really well. I didn't 40-11 it yet. And remember, 40-11 is just 1-to-1. And then 10% or 5% of the Createx 4050 UVLS Clear. Okay, so that's a really beautiful dark color. I think it's exactly what I'm looking for. Now we're going to 40-11 it. I'm mixing a lot of paint today. I don't know why, but sort of kind of started the night mixing like double the amount of painting, a double amount of paint. So not sure why. About 5% UVLS Clear. So my friends, our friends at Createx says that when you do put the 4050 in there, it flows better through the airbrush. And I'm going to mix all of this for like at least 45 seconds. You know, mix it with my palette knife. Really get that mixed up. Any little pigment particles, when you mix it like this, chances are you're gonna have that, like making iced tea, you know, all those little instant iced tea particles. I should have got iced tea at the supermarket today. I was at Aldi's, and believe it or not, they don't have powdered iced tea. They usually do. Maybe I just didn't find it, but I wasn't very lucky. Okay. Now, here it is, this beautiful dark color. I think it's exactly what we're looking for. But remember, when it's concentrated in a cup, it's a lot different than when we spray it, right? Because, you know, all the colors that we mix with transparents. Transparents mixed with transparents are going to be transparent. So there's no way around it. So I'm working today with the Extreme Patriot 105 and the Vega 1000. So my thing is right now to try and blend this together. Now this would be a good opportunity to use the new line, which is the Wicked Opaques. So these areas where these opaques would probably do really well. Next week I'm going to break out those Wicked Opaques. So have you guys tried the Wicked Opaques? I know you must have, Mr. Dwayne. And what did you think of them, sir? So you see how I'm softening this right now? Especially here. So you guys see, and girls see, how painting the portrait is a very slow process. So cool. And right now we're just really concentrating on getting this edge nice and soft. So she's not looking like a cutout. Oh great, so Dwayne says he uses them quite often just use a larger needle to paint with them. The pigment sizes, you would say the pigment particles are a little bit larger, sir? Dwayne always has great information. He's our resident wicked expert. So it's so great to have you on here, sir. And right here. But you see how edges are so important to get those hard and soft edges? They're really crucial. So you see, we went ahead and fogged that hair, but now we just, when we go in and darken it, it's a much more unified area, because when we fogged it, we kind of made it into like a mixture, like one unified kind of color, and now we slowly do the values next to it, and it just makes it feel like an oil painting, which is really important. He says they don't like fine needles as much, so you go to at least a 0.3. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for that, sir. So continuing, so here's a hard edge, so we don't have to worry about that, but we want to get rid of the smokiness here. And it's a little bit softer here. And then it gets pretty soft up here. And now she feels more like she's not cut out. So here, it's very smoky. So we're going to come back in with this flesh tone, and we're going to smoke this up a little bit. Fog it up, I should say. So it's funny, when I work in airbrush and color, it's a lot less of a pragmatic approach than I'm working in just the inks and monochromatically. A lot of it is intuitive, you know. So I'm just going to fog this up a little bit here. So why do I lighten this? So here's a good question. So it's all about opaques and transparents, right? And so if I want to make this a lighter color, going over that with a transparent's not going to do anything, right? Because transparents don't work over a dark color, they work over a lighter color. So what I'm doing is having a kind of a controlled blue shift, and I'm lightening this area of the hair. See that? It's a kind of a controlled blue shift. And you see how once you do that, you're like, Tim, have you gone crazy, right? But yeah, I did go crazy a little bit, but still has nothing to do with this technique. So now I can come in with a lighter brown, right? So there is a method to my madness. See that? And then I can come over with a lighter brown. See that? So I fogged that out. So you have to kind of plan it out too. And then right here, I have this really cool blue freehand shield I used last week. Where is it? This one. Someone made it for me. And Kiva, thank you. I appreciate you. She made it for me years ago. And it's just fantastic. Okay, so right here, if we look at our hair, right next to the edge, it's much lighter and comes down just like right about here. So I'm going to just spray right along that edge. And you see how now I have that edge? And you might say, Tim, but it's all foggy and it's on the blue side. Well, I can glaze over that with color because remember, glazes work with a lighter color. So it's totally malleable, right? So that's the thinking. Once I get going with this, then I start moving really quick and get that sort of confidence. At first it's intuitive and then confidence kind of takes over. And that's what we're going to do here with the hair. And you can just see how there's just a different feel right now to the portrait. So it's moving slow yet moving fast at the same time. Same thing over here. Was it Picasso that said every act of creation is also an act of destruction? So I think that's true here. You kind of have to break the painting to make it better. And that's what we're doing right now. So this is like me working at a much higher level than like a lot of times, because I'm making these decisions without worried about blue shift or anything. I'm just really attacking the painting. And now you see I'm much more free to paint as if I was painting with paintbrushes. And so now I'm not so worried about, you know, scratching in details. I'm painting the masses of the hair, right? That's what I'm doing. And now it's like she's more alive. Painting's more alive. The painting's more intuitive, right? It's more of an intuitive piece. Then I can come in with the other colors. So it's this is a very exciting way to paint in airbrush, right? You're not worried about just going darker layer upon layer. The painting is more alive. So I can come back in with the dark and really work back and forth, then come in with that lighter hair color, right? And Brad says, not leaving anything to chance. Very cool. And so that's great. Oh, Rick, Createx recommends a 0.5. That's really cool, sir. So remember, we have this really dark color right here. Make sure that I have the right airbrush. So how many of you out there work with multiple airbrushes when you paint? And now we're just going to start hitting some of these darker areas. Okay, I'm going to come back in with this lighter color, and you know, this flesh color to kind of fog things out. But before that, I'm going to grab some water because I'm quite parched. Let's see. And Dwayne says, I have a bunch and use them all. Very cool. No, I'm going to try and use them, especially in the later stages of the painting, because I need the coverage of an opaque. The transparent just doesn't cover like an opaque does, just by the nature of it, of course. So now I want to hit those darks, but I do have, let's see, let's put the face shield again on so we can hit some of those darks again. Let's see, where's that face shield? There it is. And then we're going to, once we darken her face really nice and get that to a rich color, we can come back in with my white and orange mixture and really lighten things up. So a lot of fun happening here. Get this contour here. Okay. And again, we'll put this right over here. Best defense is not to be there, right? So make sure there's no room for overspray. I'm going to worry about this side. This side I'm not going to worry about. I'm just going to worry about this side. On this side of the face, then I'll worry about the neck. So I have that darker color that we mixed, which was the Wicked Brown. Wicked Brown, not Detail Brown, and Detail Smoke. 2 parts of the Detail Smoke, 1 part of the Wicked Brown, and equal parts of 4011, and then about 5% of the 4050. And I didn't have to strain my paint once today, which is good. So I think a lot of that has to do with the 4050. And that comes straight from Createx. It's going to darken this edge here, right along the hair. Well, remember, you have to have, and again, we have to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for overspray. That's really bad. Now we do need our freehand shield because of this beautiful hard edge here in our hair. There we go. And see that? That's kind of a mistake. Let me put this over there. So we're getting rid of the smokiness, right? So we put the smokiness in, we get rid of it. We have some smokiness, we glaze it over because it's lighter, glaze it over with some color. So you all can see just how beneficial this is as a painting technique. On this side, we can hit this corner right over here. Okay. So now, ooh, that wasn't good. I just stabbed my airbrush holder with my needle, so that's not exactly good. Okay, let's lift this up and see what kind of edge work we're getting, right? So now I want to get the contour of her neck. I don't want to leave that for chance, so I'm going to use that personal shield. That's what Michael said to call them, which is great. Okay, see how now we're getting somewhere. Slowly but surely we're getting somewhere. So I'm looking for the contour. Oh, okay, here's the neck only. So I want the positive, not the negative. I want to cover her neck. So I believe it's in this envelope. Is this the neck? I don't know. It might be. Let me see. Yes, it doesn't look like the neck, but it certainly is. And what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to cover this. And this way we can spray it and not worry about that dark color contaminating our hard work, right? And we also have the dress, and I want to put that on there as well. You can't be too careful because the end result is everything. So I'm going to put the dress here. And right now, this is like pretty boring and, you know, kind of painstaking work, but at the end, when you have these beautiful hard edges and these subtle really wonderful soft edges and it's just working out, then you know this part was worth the extra. So I'm going to put the face on now. I know, it's a lot of work. And where is her face? Now I can do this, right? This might be the answer. So I'm going to lift this up. So sometimes, you know, when you're doing something, of course, and then you're like, wait, I think I have a better answer. That's exactly what this is right here. So when you find a better answer, don't continue going down that route. Just stop, assess, and say, okay, I'm going to attack it this way. So I have this stencil, which is the hair only stencil, and that seems to be the better answer. What do you guys think out there, guys and girls? Okay, perfect. So there are two things I want to talk about, which is there's a link in the description and also in the top of it's pinned in the comments, my online course. And my online course goes over everything of, you know, of how to start a painting, how to use these stencils, you know, what kind of line drawing, and then step by step going from dark to light. They're in monochromatic, right? But still, the same principles are in that from working in color, like I'm doing right now. Okay. So we kind of went a roundabout way to get to this point, but it's always best to do it the right way. So I'm going to worry about this side first, and then we'll worry about that side. But this side is covered nicely. So we're going to have a lot of, hey John, how's it going? Great to see you, sir. So glad you're here. So thank you so much. I appreciate that, sir. That is so great. And, oh, Dred, how's it going? We were just talking about you, sir. Good things we were saying. So it's great to see you. And, oh, thank you. And so you're just coming to work? Are you just coming off work right now or just starting work, Dred? So Rob is here. So glad. And John, you guys are great. So really love what you're doing, sir. Yes, just so much great things you're doing. I still love your starting work. I still love what you did with the coffee, man. That was just incredible. Okay, so now I have a little more freedom to hit these darks. Little more freedom. I'm usually probably no closer than 3.5 to 4, you know? I mean, I'm really, because if you're not up close, unless you're doing tight detail, you're not going to have the control. So you want to keep your airbrush a good distance away. It's sort of like learning the physics of airbrush, you know? Once you know its properties, it's really a lot easier to master it. There's no rush coming into the darks, right? So where I lightened it, I'm still got to come in with those mid-tones, so there's no rush to come into the dark. So I'm just going to put in the darks where I need them. Because right now I'm looking for structure. Remember, we cloudied that up for a reason so that we can come back in, glaze over some color, and then hit those rich darks, right? So it's all a setup. And then on this side, we can hit this. Sort of get rid of some of that cloudiness that we did on purpose before. Now what I want to do is, I have this dark to some extent. I don't want to go too crazy with the dark, because then it kind of knocks the balance of values off. So we want to go very slow. Oh yeah, definitely. They're really great. Todd Dread's all his videos are just fantastic. Okay, so now we're working on this side. So when it comes to, like, you know, these shields, when you're working, you're going to make adjustments, and they're just not going to fit like they did in the beginning. And because we make our adjustments and our preferences and everything, so you worry basically on one side, right? So we'll make sure that this side is correct, and then we work on this side. Don't worry about this side, and make sure that this side is correct. Does that make sense, I hope? Okay, so right now. So remember, we lightened up this area a lot because we're going to come in with brown. So we don't want to hit that with black, right? So that would be bad. So we just want to kind of situate this. There we go. Okay, get a swig of water. Wow, Dwayne, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that with the super chat. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for all your great advice and all your knowledge that you bring to the channel. And your great comments. They're really helping. I'm learning so much about Wicked from you and everyone else's. And always thank you for your friendship and your support, sir. It really helps the channel. I mean, I'm always, you know, when you guys do that, I get so excited and encouraged, looking forward to, you know, the continued growth of the channel and just this community growing. So it's very exciting. And thank you always for your friendship and encouragement, Mr. Dwayne, and your great knowledge. So that's just incredible. And I don't take it lightly, sir. So here we go. We're going to hit this dark here. Now we don't want to go with the darks too early because, you know, as I mentioned before, we don't want to ruin the nice light that we did when we kind of cloudy things up, because we have to do a glaze over that. So if we darken it, it kind of ruins the reason why we did it. Oh, Air Todd says, how's the apartment hunting going? Pretty good. I do have a place where I will be able to stay if I don't find something, you know, on the first. So it's a lot of the stress has been lifted, so I'm not going to be like homeless or anything. So I'll have a place to go, a place to work, and until I find a more permanent place. So me and my cat will be safe. So that's good. So that's great. So I'm really happy about that. And, you know, it's okay, you know. It's all part of everything, you know. Things can't always be super smooth. I don't know why. I would love everything to be super smooth, but they can't be all the time. So that's cool. Thanks for asking, my friend. I appreciate that, Todd. Appreciate your concern. Means a lot to me. All right, so now I think we have a nice dark. So that means that when you use these shields, yes, it's great. You don't have overspray. But there's a price, and that price is those super hard edges that we have to fix, right? And that's so crucial. And Mr. Dwayne says, I try to give out what I've learned, most of what he's learned the hard way. Hopefully some of it helps others. Yeah, definitely. You've helped me out so many times, and, you know, because, you know, your knowledge is from experience, and that's the best knowledge. Just seeing what the paint does and the airbrush does and everything. Okay, here goes. Let's see. There we go. So, yeah, so you see how we're not worried about detail right now. We're worried about building the forms, right? And slowly getting these hard and soft edges, right? It doesn't work if everything's super hard or super soft. So we have to both use freehand techniques and the shield together to kind of bring it to where we want to go. But it doesn't happen overnight. You know, it's something that you work slowly. John says, really nice contrast and body in the hair right now. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And so that's what I'm looking for, right? Is kind of building that contrast, building where I want the eye to go, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And same thing, it's slowly building it up. So there's a lot of detail here, and a lot of times we might want to hit that detail right away. But I feel that would be a mistake, because you have to model the forms first and make things three-dimensional. And also, like the hair is a three-dimensional surface that casts a shadow onto the face. So those are things we have to really look at. And that is something that, you know, takes time. Like right now, we're almost done with the live stream. This went really quick, so that means you guys are really fantastic. And I just have so much fun that it's 11:30 before I know it. Literally, guys, this happened really fast. You know, this live stream went really, really quickly. And thank you so much for the super chats and the encouragement. I really appreciate you. So right now you see I'm softening this edge, right? And that just takes time. So right here you see that detail wicked brown, and the detail smoke really works right over here. So when I come back next week, God willing, we're going to work on some brush techniques with her eyes and the eyelashes and the nostril, and some paintbrush techniques with the lips. And then we're going to work on, if we have time, we'll actually go ahead and work on her dress. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Air Todd says, Tim, my parents have a room open. I'll let them know that you show up at the door. So just leave your address. I'll be there with my cat. I'll make sure, tell them I'll make sure I'm home by 11, you know? And tell them Air Todd. You guys are funny. And see how I soften this up. So notice if you use a flesh color like this, a lot of times you won't get the blue shift if you were to use white, right? Just straight white, because it has a lot of warmth in it. But that's something you would play with. On a test paper or a test canvas. So you see how I'm softening this edge here. And let's see, Brad says, another great feed. Thanks, Tim. Good night. Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, but we'll see you before Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving's not this Thursday, but next week. But thank you for that, Brad. We Americans watch lots of football and eat lots of turkey. Football and turkey. And remember, guys and girls, I always give you the full 2 hours. It looked like we didn't do much, but we really did. Remember, we established with the transparency, and then we went ahead and kind of used this color to kind of smoke everything, kind of fog everything, and then coming back in with the darks and then the transparency. And so for we lightened it and then transparent. And I'll be going over the nature of transparency and how to use them in glazes. And I've been doing that for years in oils. So I'm just really getting that down, those principles in Airbrush. So I think you guys and girls are really going to find that interesting next week, And Mike, have a great night, sir. Always a pleasure. And, oh, Dwayne's going turkey hunting. That's so cool. JC says, Tim has everyone's address. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that, JC. You're the best. And Dwayne says, have a great week, all. Thank you so much, Dwayne. Always a pleasure. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. You are amazing. An amazing friend. I'm just going to close this out. I'll be right back. Don't go away, guys. Okay, so here we are. So thank you so much. So basically we basically started getting a cohesive flesh tone, and then we fogged everything, and now we're going back in with transparent. So transparents only work on a lighter color, so that's why we lightened everything up, so that's really cool. And so let me see. I just want to thank everybody for the 2 super chats. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate yous. John, it's great to see you, and I'm so glad you're here, and thank you for all the encouragement, and love the paintings you are doing, sir. John, your work is great. So I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Dwayne, Mr. Air Todd, Sands, Mike Rushing, and Michael McClung. You guys are amazing. Thank you for the support and friendship, and thank you everybody for coming and hanging out. Part 3 is going to be a lot of fun, and we're just going to continue this painting, and we're going to be learning more about the use of transparents and opaques, and how to set up a transparent by using opaques. So I hope Dread, thanks for hanging out. Everyone have a wonderful night. JC, thank you again. You are all amazing. And definitely Mr. Todd, you give me a call. It'd be good to talk to you. All right, guys, you take care.